Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Saints Talk. I hope you're having a good weekend. We're going to be going over the Saints' possible draft picks. We're going to do a Saints 2021 mock draft. Um, just a quick disclaimer. This will literally be my first mock draft that I've ever attempted. So feel free to get your giggles and laughs in over this. But I'm not real experienced with trying to come up with mock drafts. I did the best I could on this, and maybe some of this is what I wish would happen or what I think will happen. Players, if they're going to fall in certain positions, you never know. If they're going to trade up, get a player, you never know. So, one thing's for sure, it wouldn't surprise any of us if we wind up getting a player from a school we've never heard of somewhere deep in Canada or something. I'm, I mean, Sean Payton has a history of drafting from schools that nobody's heard of, players that nobody's heard of, maybe. Uh, so he knows they'll definitely be on the board when and where he wants to select them in the draft. I don't know, but sometimes that has worked out and sometimes it hasn't. Overall, Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, Jeff Ireland, the entire staff, they've done a pretty good job when it comes to drafting. Sometimes, recently, and then a hit and miss. One year, it might be absolutely horrible. Uh, Next year might be really awesome. But they tend to find pretty good players that wasn't on everybody's draft board, to say the least. So, without further ado, I want to get to the first round pick. And another thing is the Saints always seem to only have a couple of picks each draft. As far as I know, we only have first, second, and fourth round picks this year. We really got to get out of that. I mean, we really need to fix our salary cap and our draft situation. We need to get back to having all of our draft picks. So, a lot of people think that Mac Jones or one of the top 5 quarterbacks is going to fall to 28 in the first round where we are picking. I personally do not. I don't think any of those top 5 quarterbacks are going to be on the board. With that being said, if Mac Jones or one of those quarterbacks that the coaching staff likes is still on the board at 28 or is within moving distance to get them, I think we all think they should, but I don't know what their plan is at quarterback. Does Sean Payton really believe Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston is going to be the answer? I don't know. According to all of the players that enter in the draft in the first round, one of the guys I think we need, and I think depending on whether you're able to sign Trey Henderson back or not, or Malcolm Brown, one of the guys I think we need that could possibly fall to our position in the first round is this guy right here, Christian Barmore from Alabama. Now, a lot of this hinges on, can we re-sign Hendrickson? Can we re-sign Brown? Can we re-sign Marcus Williams? Can we re-sign Quan Alexander? So I don't know who's going to be re-signed, who isn't. So that's kind of going to mess up who I think we would pick or go after. Now, historically, Sean Payton loves to draft offensive linemen in the first round. Um, we have a really good offensive line when healthy. Now, I know they just currently re-signed Andrews Pete to a new deal. Now, if there's a really valued player at offensive line position at 28 when the Saints pick, I can see them taking them if they view him better than Andrews Pete. And maybe later in the offseason, you might see Andrews Pete wind up on the draft board, or they use Andrews Pete for trade value to move up in the draft or something like that. Because Sean Payton loves taking those offensive linemen, and you definitely have to protect the quarterback. So, but I think just where it stands right now, I can see the Saints drafting Christian Barmore, a really stout, really good defensive lineman from Alabama in the first round. Now, the second round gets a little trickier in the sense that, going back to what I said, you really don't know what's going to happen. So I have two selections. You don't know who's going to go first. It's always it never really works out how they think it's going to. So depending on if they re-sign Marcus Williams or Quan Alexander, whichever one, hopefully they can re-sign both, but I doubt it. The two options that I have in the second round is a safety, Paris Ford from Pittsburgh. The reviews on him are really good. He's a really stout safety. So if you're not able to re-sign Marcus Williams, maybe he's an option. Maybe he's still on the board in the second round. PJ Williams, I know they was kind of grooming him at the safety position, and I don't know if you're still going to have Malcolm Jenkins or not, and you have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which they really like keeping him down close to the box and in the slot. But this might be a viable option if they are to have to part ways with Marcus Williams, the missed tackler in the Minneapolis Miracle, which I still can't get over. But he's turned out to be a really solid safety, top 10 free agents in the lead right now, believe it or not. And but if we are forced to part ways with Marcus Williams, Paris Ford from Pittsburgh could be an option to replace him. Now, if he's off the board, I think the Saints should go with Nick Bolton, a linebacker from Missouri. They say he's 6 foot, I think 230. They one of the knocks on him is that he's undersized, but they say he's really strong in the trenches. He doesn't mind getting in the trenches and getting dirty. He has outstanding sideline to sideline speed, which is very useful. So he can plug the holes. He can come down, plug the holes. He can blitz. He can run sideline to sideline. And with his speed, he should be able to cover tight ends and some running backs coming out of the backfield. I think that would be a good option, especially if you have to part ways with somebody like Quan Alexander. I think you need speed at linebacker, and you need somebody that not just can run with tight ends and running backs, but that can and has the capability and is proven to be able to get down in the trenches and plug holes and stop the run. So that's just my thoughts on that. And we'll go ahead and move to the fourth round. As far as I know, I looked up. Like I said, they only had the first pick, first round pick, second round pick, and fourth round pick. So I do think the Saints. Well, let me rephrase that. I think the Saints should draft a quarterback in this draft. I do not think the top 5 quarterbacks are going to be on the board when we are able to pick, but I do think that the Saints should take a quarterback. Now, I do not think Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill is the full answer. Maybe for this coming year, one of them steps in and does good, but for a future project just to see what you have type deal, I think when you get outside of the top 5 quarterbacks and you get to that next tier, they have a guy named Felipe Franks. He was at Florida and then he transferred to Arkansas. One of the things I like about him is he's 6'6". Okay, he can move around. And the most important thing that I like about this guy, and if you listen to my last video, you know the most important thing that I value in a quarterback, and that's accuracy. Because if you can learn if you're smart and you can learn how to read defenses, if you have the accuracy and the arm ability, great coaches, and as good as everybody claims Sean Payton is with quarterbacks, great. If you have the intangibles, if you have the accuracy, and you have the learning capability to read defenses, learn the playbook, all of the little intricacies that somebody like Breeze is able to to obtain throughout his years with Sean Payton, knowing what he's thinking before he even says it, that type of deal. If you have those, then the rest of everything else that surrounds being a quarterback, to me, is teachable. You can develop all of those other skills in those areas. Now, like I said, I think the Saints should draft a quarterback. I think it's going to be in the later rounds. Now, one good thing about that is typically your first round quarterbacks, I mean, historically, if you go and look through, they're not always the best options. I mean, if you go throughout history and look at some of the greats, not all, but some of the greats, a lot of I would say the majority of the great quarterbacks were not drafted in the first round. A lot of them wasn't drafted in the second round. So don't think that just because, hey, we drafted this guy in the fourth round, that he's not, he's not going to work out or whatever. That's not always true. Now, this guy does have experience playing in the SEC. I think most of you would agree that that's the toughest division in college football. So it's not like this guy was playing for Southeastern Louisiana and he was playing, high school football teams or something. Like this guy has played very good talent on the other side of the ball, and he has a 67% completion percentage. So a career 67% completion percentage for a quarterback, to me, that's where the accuracy comes in. That's what I value most in a quarterback. I think Sean Payton can groom this guy, and you never know. It's always hard to tell exactly what's going to happen, but I think Sean Payton can groom this guy into a really good quarterback in the future for the Saints. That's going to be it for today. Unfortunately, that's all the picks that we have this year, unless something happens and they're able to acquire more or move up. I would really appreciate it if you like this video to take a chance to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And look, I would love to know what you think in the comments section. You can tell me that I'm absolutely nuts and that I don't know what I'm talking about, because you're probably right. Because like I said, this is my first mock draft I've ever attempted. And I just did it for fun and kind of did it how I wish they would draft or how I think it will go. It's always hard to tell. So I appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. And until next time, y'all have a good one and be safe. And who dat?